And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Ladies and gentlemen, here we have sheer awesomeness, all right? The original Summoner Wars came in two different two-player boxes. It was this small publisher whom no one had heard of before. I only knew the designer because he had worked on Heroescape, and so, you know, it was this smash hit out of nowhere, a fantastic game. Came with paper maps, though, and like, oh, this would be so much better with the board. Well, they eventually came out with the board, and then I heard that they were releasing this box with 6 armies, and I thought, oh, go figure. This always happens to me. You know, I get these early editions of the games, and then they're going to come out with a box that has all the armies and everything in it, and I'm going to want to buy it for the box sake, etc. But that's not what happened here. This box comes with 6 completely new armies. There's already 8 armies in existence. There are now 6 new armies for a total of 14 armies. That, my friends, is awesome. So you can buy this as a jumping on point to the game, and you're perfectly fine. You have 6 good armies, and it comes with a board. Or, if you've already played the game, you can buy this, and it has enough room to store all the stuff you've gotten so far, as long as you don't sleeve it. And it's just cool. It's really cool. Cool. It's a great game. Let's take a look. Alright, let's take a look at this box. Unfortunately, it's bigger than, you know, your typical Ticket to Ride size boxes, so you're going to have to find a new spot on your shelf for this. In fact, I don't believe I have another game that is the same size as this one. But let's see what's inside this box. Here we have the rule book, which is an updated version of the rules. Not much difference. It explains some of the new stuff, new abilities. There's no new rules. And then the boards. Now, these boards are the exact same size as the boards I already have, except they're only fold once rather than twice. And then inside, you have spots here, and there's 6 new armies, okay? With new wound markings and some dice. The dice aren't nearly as good as Dice Tower dice, which, by the way, you can get. Just check out my site to see how you can get some Dice Tower dice. But anyway, I diverse. Here we have the 6 different armies that are included in the game. Well, there already is 8 armies included in the game. So, if I take these 6 armies, I can stack them like this right now in those 2 spots, and then I can bring in the other armies, and I have room here. Now, if these 6 new armies get reinforcements, then I can split them into these 2 slots, and I even have an extra slot over here in which I can put all my mercenary cards. And I don't even have to keep the wound markers in here. I could shove them in this middle section, which would give me another spot for cards. So there's plenty of room in this box. Now, if you sleeve your cards, you're going to have more of a problem. But still, you can do all that. You can put your boards here. I was hoping to put the other boards in so I could play a 4-player game. They pushed the box out slightly more than I want them to. I suppose I could always stick them like this, but then the box isn't going to fit very well. But so for right now, I'm ruining my box. And everything fits together kind of nicely like that. Alright, let's take a look at the armies. Alright, now realize that I only have a little bit of time here to talk about 6 different armies, so I'm just going to give you a basic overview of the armies. Now, I will notice here that we have the Shadow Elves and the Deep Dwarves, and I was a little disappointed, I guess, that the backs of these, they look very similar. Now, the symbol's different, but on the board, and you'll find yourself, you know, I guess you won't be playing against these all the time, and it's not the end of the world, but the backs are just very similar. Okay, that's the only negative thing you're going to hear me say today. Okay. The Shadow Elves. They're about, I guess, finesse would be the word to describe this deck. This guy can charge into battle, the summoner, but they have this guy who can move an extra space, the knight when he moves. You have the Shadow Elves with shadow arrows, where when she shoots someone, and if she destroys them, she can take their place. You have the shadows, which you can cast, which makes your opponents move slower. But finesse aside, you also have one of the biggest, baddest beasts in the game. This monster here with 8 hit points, and he can hit everything next to him. Just a very intimidating creature to bring out on the board. And also the Shadow Dancer, back to finesse, just how cool she is. that when she's attacked, she can take one of the dice that's rolled, whatever it is, a hit, and discard it. So it's very difficult to hit her, and with her range of 2 dice, just a very useful army. So this is the Shadow Elves. Like I said, to describe them, I would say finesse. Now let's talk about the Deep Dwarves. One of the things I like about Plaid Hat Games is how they take our traditional ideas of the dwarves and elves and goblins and they muck with them, really. They just mess them up. And here we have the Deep Dwarves, which are all about magic. That's what they're about. This guy, the summoner here, has the ability to take a card from the use pile and put it back on the magic pile. No one else in the game has this ability to put more cards in your magic pile that have already been used. Now, when he does this, only one unit can attack, but in the end game, this can be very handy. And you'll find that this ability basically just goes throughout the deck. This guy can move one of your walls for a magic point. This guy can use a magic point to move a chosen unit that's near him. The miners can use magic points to go next to other miners. The scholar is worthless by himself, but he can use a magic point to enhance the attacks of people near him. The gem mage can enhance his attack with magic. And so all the dwarves have this ability to use magic points. And you can even take a common unit from your discard pile and bring it back into play. It doesn't have to be your own, which is very, very neat. And your opponent cannot spend magic points during their next phase. And there's even a card that allows you to spend 1 less magic point on all your abilities, which, with all these guys that we've been talking about, can be very handy. So they are the magic deck. Then we have the mountain, the mountain vermin, or the mountain Vargoth, I suppose is their name. In essence, these guys are kind of like minotaurs in a sense. They're a very militaristic deck. It's all about formations and attacking. They're very tough. They're very sturdy. When you have a common unit that's within 2 spaces of your summoner, they get +1 to their attack value. This guy here, when he attacks and he's on your opponent's side of the battlefield, he gets an extra die to his attack. The brute, when he hits someone, he can throw them. If he doesn't kill them, he can throw them 3 spaces. The rusher, when he moves on, if he's on your side, he can move 2 extra spaces. And you have superior planning. When you reveal a card, you can reveal a card for any deck in your, look through any card in your deck and put it into your hand. Here you can take 2 common units and move them adjacent to your summoner. So it's all about moving people around. But you also have powerful units. I mean, they're tough. If you notice, all these characters have a lot of hit points. Here we have this champion, and you can spend a magic point to attack with him twice. Chain lightning, very useful. And then another powerful, mean, nasty unit, Trample, where he can move through common units, and he just has a lot of hit points and power. So this is a very strong, powerful units in this deck, and they like to work together, and it's all about attack your enemy and kill him. The next army is another magic-oriented army, but here we have the goblins, the sand goblins. This is another goblin deck. If I could say anything about these goblins, is that they are the annoying army. They just annoy your army. This guy can spend 2 magic points to pick 3 units that are within 3 spaces, and he can give them wounds just from his sandstorm. So your summoner is there, and you can cast a thing that all your goblins can't be hit except by adjacent units. So that totally negates the range of your opponent's army. And you have the Javelineer guy who always has that special ability. Or the Scavenger, when he hits someone, he doesn't send them to your magic pile when he kills someone. Instead, he puts it underneath him. And instead of getting killed when someone wounds him, he'll discard that card instead. And Stilts here can exchange places with a unit that he's adjacent to. Taunt, you can force your opponents to come towards you. You can really mess up your plans. The Shaman can move 2 spaces. He basically can run up and shoot and then run back. A very handy unit. Now, they are goblins, so there's some of that flavor is mixed in here. We have this biter guy who's crazed. When he's adjacent to an enemy unit, he can't be moved. He's very useful and powerful, but, when he's in battle. And then we have this very interesting character. I'm not sure how much I like this guy. creep. He's cowardly, which means if he's next to a unit at the end of your turn, you roll a die and on 1 or 2, he's gone. He's dead. Or I guess he runs away from battle. But he's very powerful. 6 with 3 attack. So basically he's only going to run up and hit weak units, but he's going to do it, and he's going to do it well. Just stay away from your opponent's strong units that might survive the attack because they might scare him away. So that's the Sand Goblins, another neat army. Then we have 2 of the more unique armies that come in this deck. The first is the Swamp Orcs. Now, yes, another Orc army. Well, I'm all for Orc armies. That's great. But this Orc army comes with more cards than the rest. They come with 15 Vine Walls. And they are going all about using these Vine Walls. As you can see, these Vine Walls have 2 hit points, and many of the characters, including the Summoner, can summon these Mine Walls. Mine Walls can be moved onto by units. In fact, a lot of times they're going to get into everyone's way, but when you move off them, you have to roll a die and you might take a wound. But the Swamp Orcs, most of their units don't have to. Notice it says, Muglug does not have to move when he rolls off a Vine Wall. And then I got cards just like this one. Choose a wall that you control. Place a Vine Wall adjacent to that wall. I got a Hunter here. When he moves off a Vine Wall, add 1 to his attack value. The Ambush. When there's a unit moves off a Vine Wall, you can do extra attacks. This guy has the same thing. There's Vine Mancer Ambush. This guy, when someone attacks him, if he's adjacent to a wall, you have to roll 5 or higher to kill him. And then this guy, and I really like this one, Glorg, the Vine Mancer Reach. When he's on a Vine Wall, we add 1 to his attack value, and it's as if he has ranged attack. So these guys are all about getting these Vine Walls up, and they seem awfully powerful. Now, they are beatable, but when you go up against these Swamp Orcs, you are going to have to go in with a different mindset. So that's the Swamp Orcs. And then, in my opinion, the coolest army that's in this box, and that is the Benders. The bending of time and space to some degree. This guy can counter summon. If someone's close enough to him, he pays the amount that it costs to summon them and sends them back. You have that really big champion in there, and he has saved up 7 or 8 magic, then you're going to be careful to stay away from his summoner. It's a really neat ability. I mean, it's not unstoppable because they don't have unlimited magic, but still very useful. Telekinetic Blast. After you attack with them, you can choose a unit and move that unit 1 space. The Deceiver, when someone is next to them, they cannot move or attack. So you can run these Deceivers up into combat just to keep your opponent's unit into place, like a stasis almost. The Breaker, when you attack with them, you can reveal the top card of your opponent's draw pile and then discard it unless they pay 1 magic point to put it back on the bottom of their draw pile. Very, very powerful, very annoying, and these people are ranged. Now, the Breakers are not strong at all, but they are, I mean, they're weak, but their abilities are very powerful. The Mimic, I love this one. Look at your opponent's hand and you can use one of their cards. This champion here, after their attack phase, they can choose a common unit they control and attack with that unit. This guy, Glimpse the Future. You can look at someone else's draw pile, putting 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom. And then this Guldoon. When an enemy common or champion unit would be destroyed by an attack from him, you ignore the wound markers, and you take control of that unit. Oh, such a cool, powerful army. So these are the armies that we find in this box. With the advent of this expansion, or this master box, whatever you want to call it, for me it's expansion. I have everything inside here. Folks, I can clearly say that Summoner Wars is one of my favorite games. Easily. It is fantastic. I now have 14 armies to play with, although I cannot wait for these 6 armies to get their expansions. But even without that, 14 armies, and all 14 armies have a distinct feel. That is very rare. I mean, look at Games Workshop. They have distinctive feels with their armies, and, you know, there's thousands and thousands of dollars you can spend on one army, and it takes a long time to play and paint and all that jazz. Here I have the exact same feel in a box, and I was able to buy 6 armies at once. This is great. Folks, if you've never played Summoner Wars before, if you're looking at this as something you're going to get for the first time, then this is the set to get into the game with. If you've not played it before, I cannot tell you just how intriguing it is, how you have these cards, and it's a short game that's going to have a definitive end because you eventually run out of cards, and then you just run up and fight one another. There's luck, of course, with the dice. There's luck, of course, with the card drawing. But all that is mitigated, I think, by just a strategy. And the decks seem to be perfectly balanced. I have yet to find one army that is better than another. And if you find one that you think rocks and you find another one that you think isn't that quite so good, I will gladly play you and play the one that you think isn't quite so good, because each of them has their strengths and weaknesses and they take different styles. Now, of course, I'm probably not the best person to demonstrate this with, because I lose a lot, but I'm telling you, I'm amazed at the absolute, production quality here, the absolute thought that went into this game. I mean, this is a great expansion and base set and game.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.